Hello, 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 and welcome back to an all new episode here on the Desensitized channel. As always, my name is Darius Cook, joined as ever by Dan Cast. What's up, Dan Cast?
Nothing much. Excited to do like a different type of video than we've been normally doing, where it's like pertaining to like an anime or whatever. So excited to spice
Yeah,
things up a bit.
for sure. Here on the Desensitized channel, we like to celebrate all fandoms, be that anime, animation, gaming, and whatever, what else. And today we're diving into a fandom that is one of my personal favorites. I am a huge Survivor fan, and we are a week out from the Survivor season 48 premiere. And in light of that, I thought that we would go over the cast list and take a look at all the players that are going to be playing in this season and do a little draft and try to see if we can pick who's going to be the winner of the season, which we'll be covering. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, just for the audience at home, can you give just a brief little, like, what is your history with Survivor? What kind of relationship do you have with the series?
Yeah, so I started watching Survivor maybe like 3 years ago, something like that. And when I initially watched Survivor, I binged like almost every season, minus like some of the really early ones. And then I was relatively up to date, just missing maybe a handful of seasons of what was the one that we watched? We
So
did
that
a
would be Survivor 44. Yeah.
yeah, that was the last one that I had like watched a little bit. So it's been a while in terms of Survivor, but I'm excited to get back into it.
Just for my side of the fence, I am a huge Survivor fan. I just started watching in 2020, so it was during COVID that I found the series. But since then, I've seen every season from 1 through 40, and then of course I've been watching all of the new era seasons as well. A lot of people criticize the new era; they call it the budget era of Survivor, and I definitely see a lot of those critiques. But it has not affected my personal fandom. I still love it with all my heart. It is a personal dream of mine to be on Survivor. I've applied twice now, and I've heard nothing back. But if I can't be on Survivor, I'll just make content. This will get me as close as I can to my dream.
For sure. It's definitely been interesting to see like the evolution of it to where it's like in the very beginning seasons, if you backstab someone, that was the ultimate betrayal. But now it's expected. Like it people understand that this is part of the game, and you have to do stuff like that, and people are a lot less likely to kind of hold it against you just because they know this is the game. You know what I mean? And now it's like if someone does a good play where they betray someone, it's like, a clap, like good job, you got me, as opposed to like this
Mhm.
ultimate betrayal.
It's really fascinating, actually, the different eras that Survivor has gone in and out of throughout the years. Whether that be fan reception, like some eras fans think are stronger than others. Some casting, is stronger than others. But just of the evolution of the game is a very interesting aspect. Where we are right now, the new era, 41 and up, there are a lot of changes to the game, and I think it comes down to the casting, which is obviously something we're going to be discussing today.
Hmm.
But I think the biggest trend in the type of players that we see playing now in the new era are players that are super fans. It seemingly has become a prerequisite to be on Survivor, to have seen every season of Survivor and to be able to quote it and know all the players and stuff like that. Through our list today, most of them seem like super fans as well. So I don't think that trend has broken
Hmm.
as of this time.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of deep dive and kind of see who we think might win.
Yeah. So the way that I want to do this is we'll just kind of go back and forth and we'll take turns drafting one of the players that, we look through the list of the players, we watch their interviews, we've done the research. And so we're going to take turns drafting a player. And so each of us will have 9 players representing the total 18 to pick as our potential winner picks. And week by week, we'll be seeing whose players go home and see who overall had the best choice to pick the winner by the end. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Well, I'm kind of a super fan. I will defer to you to go first. I will give you that opportunity. So who's first on your list? Who's catching your eye?
I'm going for someone that looks like they're very athletic, strong, that they could win a lot of the more physical um, challenges. So I'll go with David Kine or Keen. I don't know how to pronounce it, but looks pretty in shape. He's a stunt performer as his
Hmm.
occupation, so I feel like being able to throw yourself in many different ways, it will be definitely beneficial to you know, all the challenges that they'll see.
Yeah, David Kinney, stunt performer. He's one of the many contestants on the season that are from California. I think there's like 7 of them that are all from California, which kind of seems like a crazy casting choice in my opinion. But I agree, he probably will perform very well. I do think it's been a more recent trend for the bigger, stronger people to be targeted first. So I actually had him on the bottom of my list. So I'm happy that you went ahead and took care of him for me. So
My thinking is, if you can win challenges, you don't have to worry about elimination. You don't even have to deal with
fair
that
enough.
process.
Fair enough. We haven't seen a challenge beast really dominate the space in a while, so maybe he could come in and do that. I think it would be in his best interest to lie about what his job is, because if he reveals that he's a stunt performer, I think that people are gonna be wary of him and how he's gonna perform in the challenges once it becomes an individual game. He did note on his interview that he has not seen every season of Survivor. I think that he's only seen a handful, so he's actually unique in this cast list of not being a super fan of the series. All right. Well, for my first pick, I went with someone who I felt represented me the most. That's how I like to go about these things. So the first person on my list is Justin Piapi. Justin Piapi, he is on the Vula tribe. He's 29 and he is a pizzeria manager. I am a manager of a sushi restaurant myself, and so I feel a kinship with this man. He actually used to work in legislation aid. He was actually the youngest ever to work at that highest level of state politics in his state, and so he has a very interesting track record of working within the government and within politics at a young age, but now has moved on to work in the pizzeria industry.
Well,
The reason I like this player is because I think, with his history, I think it's clear that he is going to be an intelligent and potentially cunning guy to have worked in politics as young as 17. However, the fact that he's a pizzeria manager right now, I think people won't be too suspecting of him. I think that his current role will act as camouflage for people not to point their fingers too much at him.
yeah, yeah, that's honestly well put. Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice at all. This might seem like a weird one, but I have Charity Nelms.
Ah, she was on my list. Okay.
One, because I think with her occupation, it seems like she deals with a lot of different people. Me also being in like guest services or like the hospitality industry, it definitely helps you deal with a multitude of situations, and kind of navigating conversations with different types of personalities is very handy, especially in a game like Survivor. And also, obviously, from what I can see, she's pretty good looking, and we've seen before in
Mm.
plenty of Survivors that sometimes all you need is some good looks, and that'll carry you a decent way through the game. I mean, you've seen it in a couple different seasons for sure.
Yeah, that I think that's a pretty fair choice. Yeah, as you said, she's a flight attendant and she lives here in the state of Florida. So maybe she's watching this. Maybe there's a chance we live in Florida, so there's a chance that you might run into her. So yeah, it's a good thing that you stated this publicly. Charity, if you're watching this, Cast is interested. For my second choice, I went with Stephanie Berger. Now, I got to be honest, when I first saw Stephanie's picture, I wasn't too impressed. She doesn't look like a big gamer to me, but I like that name a lot.
Mhm.
Stephanie is 38 and she's from New York City. She works as a tech lead, and she said that the players that she would most compare herself to would be Natalie and Jam Jam. Both of those players are ruthless players, very tenacious and dominant players who won both of their respective seasons. And so, going through her biography a little bit, I think that she has the potential to come out as a very fierce player. So at first I wasn't sold on her, but I think that she actually has what it takes to go far in this game. I don't think there's anything on paper about her that seems too menacing or too scary, so I don't think that she'll be targeted at least too early on in the game.
Nice. She was actually on my list of people that I was interested in. Um,
Mm,
Definitely reading the Yam Yam thing. I was like, man, Yam Yam he was smart. He played the fool when he needed to play the fool, and honestly, he was he was a very good player. It's shocking. I didn't think he'd get as far as he did.
yeah. Jam Jam is one of the most impressive winners, especially of the new era. But overall, he has got one of the cleanest, flawless victories. I think that he using him as a framework of what kind of player you're going to play as is a good sign for sure.
So my next choice, just we need diversity in our team if we're teams in Excel. You need someone that can do the puzzles and do the brain work. So I'm gonna do Camila Carthagesu is what it is.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, good pronunciation.
occupation occupation software engineer. That job is entirely pretty much solving puzzles. Also something that I am interested. Um, she seems like, from what I've seen from her description and from like some answers that she's given, she's a thinker. You know what I mean? And she's not. She's also not a stranger to like failure, which I think is a good thing. I feel like in a long game like Survivor, um, a couple bumps in the road and you're completely derailed and then you start making irrational decisions and stuff like that and things get a little hectic, so you definitely want someone that's cool headed and that's been there. She's also 5'1" and short, so people might not see her as too much of a threat physically in terms of winning some of the more other challenges, so they'll probably she can sneak in there.
That's not a bad pick. I had my eye on her as well. And she's from Canada, which, every season there seems to be one person from Canada for some reason. Not sure what that's all about. But yeah, she's filling that role. And you're right, on her history, she says that she has a history of failing, but she continues to strive forward. So I agree that she's probably going to be a resilient player who can fly under the radar.
Yep.
That is Mitch Guerra.
Mm.
This gentleman has a smile that will charm anyone over, if you ask me. Mitch Guerra is 34 and is from Texas. Going through this guy's profile, I think that he's someone who I could really be friends with. It says here that he's on the Siva tribe and that his job is as a PE coach. So I think that's a perfect job to be playing on Survivor. It shows that he's going to be physical. He'll be able to get in the mix. But I think if I'm on a tribe full of people and I hear that someone's a PE coach, that's not too scary to me. I think the big jobs you want to avoid on Survivor is being a surgeon, being a lawyer, these being a cop. These are the positions that have performed very well and have attracted a lot of attention early on in the game. And in his interview, he even mentioned that the players that he would play most like are Spencer and Cochran, who are some of my favorite players in Survivor as well. So I'm feeling a kinship with Mitch. I think he's going to go the distance.
I'm gonna go Thomas Crodinger.
Mm,
Um, so his occupation's a music executive.
hmm
So recently I've been playing a couple different games that are akin to Dungeons and Dragons, and you always need a bard in your group
Ah,
to lift up
okay.
the moods, to kind of keep everyone inspired, and that's kind of my nerdy intuition there. Um, he seems like, also from his description and everything, he's gonna be good to like keep spirits up.
Not a bad pick. Another representative from California. So you're establishing a certain coast team here. He describes himself as an emotional player, which I think can either be it's either a cursing or a blessing in Survivor. Your emotions will either get you the connections you need to go far, or it's going to make you self implode early on. So not a bad pick. Not a bad pick there. For my next pick, and honestly, I should have picked him first. So I'm happy that I'm still able to kind of pick him up here. I have Shahin Dewari. As mentioned before, I'm a super fan of Survivor, right? Shahin Dewari has an interesting history as being an alternate for multiple seasons now, for the previous two seasons of Survivor. So the way that works is every season they have a few alternates that go to Fiji and get sequestered with everyone as well, just in case something last minute happens. They need to sub in to join the cast. Um, Previous winner of Survivor 47, Rachel was a alternate, and then right before that, D was actually an alternate as well. And so right now we're kind of on a hot streak of alternates performing very well on Survivor. Multiple survivors on previous seasons and their preseason interviews that we're reading right now mentioned that they had their eye on this guy just from being around Fiji when they're not supposed to talk to each other. And multiple people said that had their eye on this guy. So because of that, I think that he's going to be a player to look out for. And he's already kind of established some lore within the survivor community. Uh, he's a debate professor. So I think that'll serve him very well, especially in tribal councils. Shahin Dewari is going to be on my team.
I'm gonna go with Bianca Roses.
Ah, darn you. I wanted her next. I like her.
So occupation is a PR consultant, which I mean goes hand in hand with dealing with people. A lot of times can be upset people, so kind of helping manage emotions and dealing with the different personalities that are going to be present. She said she's been watching the show since she's 8 years old, so she's definitely a fan. And we've seen that it's kind of advantageous to have watched the shows prior. Um, Typically because they recycle sometimes the same puzzles, a lot of the same like strategies like hiding immunity idols. It's definitely watching the shows, you kind of know where to look, and you know kind of how the game works in a way that you can kind of plan ahead a little bit better. In her pet peeves, it's indecisiveness. So
Mm.
I wonder if she's gonna be the one to take a step forward and like kind of make the calls.
She'll be one of the leaders in the tribe
Yeah.
and controlling a lot of the votes. I think that's probably true. She even cites so every player is asked what player that they think that they'll play like, and a lot of them give just one answer. She gave four. She said Dee, Kenzie, Michelle, and Marianne. And here's why I like those answers a lot. She's 33, and all of these players are between the ages of 27 and 34 at the time that they played and won Survivor. These are four female badass winners of Survivor. So this tells me that she knows the exact type of game style that she wants to play, go on and dominate. Honestly, I should have picked her up way earlier. I can't believe I let you take her. I'm coming back with a better pick though.
Oh,
So who I'm picking next, this one is going to be in honor of my fiance. I'm going for Mary Zane on the Vula tribe. She's 31 years old. She's currently living in Philadelphia, and she describes herself as being chaotic but thoughtful. Mary is a social worker. As you know, my fiance is also a social worker, and she is currently working in substance abuse and has a history working in Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, and working for crisis hotlines. All things that my fiance has done as well. Now, I will say, on paper, as I'm looking at her description, she seems a little volatile. I think that Mary might be the source of some good TV this season in the form of drama and arguing on the tribe. But if she's able to maybe sidestep that a little bit, I think that her experience working as a social worker in high tense situations, working in therapy, I think that she should be able to use those tools to navigate her social dynamics on the tribes.
nice. She was actually gonna be my next pick too, especially like
Okay.
the description of herself as being chaotic. That just seemed like good TV to me as well. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you need a wrench, just to really test everyone's resolve. My next pick will be uh, Cedric McFadden. Um,
Ah,
he is a surgeon. The being a surgeon is a super stressful job, like maybe one of the more high stress jobs. And I can't think of something uh that could prepare you more mentally. You know what I mean? He's also a massive fan of the show, so clearly he's well versed in it. He's clearly intelligent because he's a surgeon, and his ability to deal with stress definitely, um, I feel like, will help him a lot in it. So I'm gonna go with Cedric.
hey, you're right. I think a surgeon should be able to perform well when it comes to Survivor. That being said, he cites Earl and Sari as his favorite players. Phenomenal players. Anyone who's a big fan of Survivor will love these players. But I don't think that Earl and Sari's approach to the games would be successful in today's version of Survivor. So I'm a little skeptical of him, but solid pick overall. All right, for my next pick, I am going with. I honestly, this guy is either gonna dominate the game or he's gonna burn out in flames, and that's because he is a fire captain. I went with Joe Hunter. He's 45. He's on the older spectrum of the cast this season. Most of the cast is actually between 30 and 35. That's like 80% of them. And we have one cast member playing in her 20s and one playing in her 50s. And so Joe Hunter's on that older end of the spectrum, not the oldest that we have, but he's a fire captain. So he's used to being a leader. Obviously, he's worked in high stress situations. And I'm sure that physically he'll be able to perform well. We've seen multiple challenge beasts be firefighters in the past, so I do think that that is kind of a career route that lends people physically to be in their best form when it comes to Survivor. That being said, we've also seen people who have positions of authority in real life struggle when they hit the beach, especially if he's going to be older than his tribe mates, which looking at the tribe breakdown, he will be. If they don't listen to what he has to say, I think that will become, it has the potential to be a source of contention, which is a well worn path we've seen people get into when it comes to survivors. So I'm doing it with a caveat, but I'm hoping that he'll shake out good for my team.
Nice. He's definitely also on my radar. This is definitely getting tougher. The the closer we get to finishing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of between a couple picks, but I'm just gonna send it on Kevin Luang. He seemed, finance manager, obviously another kind of more high stress job, but also he seems like, he describes himself as energetic and social, which is pretty big in this game, obviously. And he also does look fit. So he has the potential to, one, perform well in the physical challenges, and two, also in the social game. He describes his way of winning Survivor as being athletic, social, and smart. So we'll see if he can hold up to that flame that he set for himself, or if he's gonna burn out.
All right. Next on my list, you're right. This is getting tough now. We got a few people left, but I am gonna go with Sionia. She goes by Sai. She goes by Sai. Sorry, I'm butchering your name, but you're on my team, kid. I like your chutzpah. She's 30 years old. She's from Pennsylvania, and she works in marketing. She's a woman of color, and in her interview, she says that's largely what she's coming here to do, to be a leader, to show other Black women that they can come into a space like this and dominate. And the reason why I was drawn to her is she said that her pet peeve is when people smack their food when they eat. I totally understand that. I think me and her would get along because that also pisses me off a lot. So, just in solidarity of that fact, Sai, or yeah, I think Sai is how we pronounce it. I'm taking you on my team, kid. Let's go.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny because that pet peeve was like something that made me concerned, because I feel like people are going to be smacking their lips while they're chewing a lot while they're there, and having a pet peeve that a lot of people can can set off for
Trigger.
you might be bad when you haven't eaten in a long time.
Uh,
I'm sure once you get that plate of food, or whatever, you don't even care what you're doing, you're gonna be smacking your lips. No
yeah,
regard.
you might be right about that. I think people lose their manners when they're starving and they're eating rice and coconuts out of a leaf plate. Maybe they won't be concerned about their table manners. So you're right. That might cause some contention.
Kyle Frazier,
Mm.
um an attorney, so definitely kind of a smart player. Attorneys are also kind of with their profession, it seems like they're trying to, one, listen to key words or key things within a case. So it, I'm sure he'll be able to root out a little bit better if someone's going to be lying to him. um and he also looks like he's in pretty decent shape. So on top of the social game, looks like he might be able to do well in challenges, and as well as puzzles. And yeah.
Yeah. Certainly. We've seen a lot of attorneys go on Survivor, and we've seen them do well. I think at this point, if you go on Survivor and you admit that you're an attorney, you're a fool.
Oh
So if
yeah,
he
you
can play
can't.
that close to the chest and hide it, I think he has a decent chance. And you're right, he does look pretty fit. So he probably has a good chance to go far.
For sure.
All right. I don't know how you let me get this, but I'm taking her. I've got a fire captain on my team, and now I'm getting a fire lieutenant on my team. I'm taking Chrissy Sarnikovsky. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. She is on the Siva tribe, and she is from Chicago and is a fire lieutenant. At 55, she's the oldest player on the season, which 55 isn't even that old. Okay,
No.
like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We've seen much older players play before, but it's interesting. We don't have very young players playing this season, but we don't have very old players either. We're really existing in that 30 to 40 range. She describes herself as a badass, and she does not like lazy people. And she said that she would compare herself to Carolyn from Survivor 44, the same season with Jam Jam, who worked with him. Carolyn is crazy, but she is so herself that she won me over by the end of her season. I'm watching Carolyn play on the Traders right now, and I've fallen even deeper in love with her. So when I saw that that's kind of her comparison, I was like, okay, I think I can rock with that. And of course, I'm going with the firefighter synergy.
Nice, nice. Good chemistry for sure. I'm sure they'll definitely link up at some point as like a this is an easy alliance. Like we're both in the same field, blah blah blah.
And they're both two of the oldest people on the
That
entire
too.
series.
Yep. That's
We'll see.
another green line connecting them. This one, like I got won over by kind of their explanation of why they will be the survivor winner. Eva Erickson
I thought that's who you were taking. Choose next for me.
did the her description of why you will be the sole survivor reads, I'm gritty as hell. I will work harder than anyone else in this game. I also am smart and smart enough to hide my intelligence. This is a game of minimizing perceived threat level. So by emphasizing my physical abilities while downplaying my intelligence, I will fly under the radar to success.
Dude, I don't I it didn't catch me when I was going through these, but that's a fire description.
No,
She might be though she might should have had the number one spot.
yeah, a big part of the game is literally what she said, minimizing perceived threat level. If
Mm,
people don't see you as a threat, it doesn't matter if you lose every single challenge. They're just gonna let you coast by. And that's what happened with Fabio, right? He played the
yeah,
fool for so long, and then all of a sudden when everyone's like, okay, it's time for him to go, he just won every challenge.
not bad. She's also the youngest player on this season at 24 years old. So when I was going through her, I she was really reminding me of Emily Flippin. She would be from Survivor 45. I don't think you saw that season.
No.
Divisive player, caused a lot of drama early on, but she was able to really like do a full like 180 on her style of play. She was being coached by someone named Caleb at the time, and she ended up being one of the most beloved players from that season. She didn't go exactly too far, but she did make it into the merge. So I was going back and forth with her because I hated Emily at first, but then I liked Emily, and this player reminds me so much of her. She also mentioned in her description that she part of her motivation is to be a representation of autism, which is not something we've really seen in Survivor. I think there's been a couple players that they were autists. They did have autism, but they did not bring that up much or wasn't featured much in their confessionals. And so
Hmm.
I think that it will be a present part of her narrative on this season, or at least I'm hoping it will be.
Um,
You had a good pick. If I could turn back time, if I could break the hourglass, that's a Survivor 41 reference, and turn back time, I think I would take her in the number one. I think you found a good one there. It's true. Well, let's see if she could put her money where her mouth is. We don't have many left here, so you know what? I didn't necessarily want this player because I think this is someone who's going to attract a lot of attention early on, and I think if the last few seasons are anything to indicate, that often means that you're going to leave early. But I'm going with Star Tooney. She's on the Logi tribe, works in sales, and is from Georgia. One thing I thought was interesting in their description is she mentioned that her dream is for her son to also play Survivor one day. So this is someone who's, we're approaching Survivor 50, and that is something we discuss season to season. Is when these players are on, is part of their strategy is to make an impression enough to be invited back on in the future. That is certainly something I would be thinking about if I was on the season, and it seems like that's something on her in her mind right now as well. She also said that the players that she's most similar to are Marianne of Survivor 42 and Sandra, back from Pearl Islands, also known as the Queen of Survivor. Now, these are both great winners of Survivors. However, they're opposite players, so I don't know what that means for Sartuni. I don't think I have a good idea of how she's going to play, but she's swinging big for her comparison. So we'll see what she gets us. I think if nothing else, she'll make for good TV.
for sure, for sure.
And with that choice, that's gonna round out my team. How are you feeling about your lineup overall? Should we go through our list really quick and just kind of highlight who we have?
Yeah, sure. Um, Definitely what I was kind of going for is there wasn't really like an exact like I'm looking at them at like an individual basis like I was, but also like how they could synergize as a team. I feel like my team's pretty well rounded. Definitely the one that ended up actually standing out to me the most that I sort of picked towards the end was Eva with her description. I definitely read it before, but it didn't really like click in my head until I reread it, and I'm like, huh, man, that was really good. As well as
Mm,
like them saying they're gritty. You know, I mean
mhm.
that just means like you're down to get in the mud and get dirty if it means success.
So of your list, is she going to be like your number one pick? Is that like if you had to hedge your bet, who do you think is winning the season? Is that who you're going with, or would you change that answer?
Honestly, screw it. I'll go with her. My number
So
one.
so here, I'm gonna go through my list and just recap who I have, and then I'm gonna give my winner pick, and then you can recap your list as well. I have Justin Piapi, Mitch Guerra, Shaheen Dewari, Stephanie Berger, Mary Zhang, Joe Hunter, Sai, Chrissy, and Sartuni. And for my number one pick to win the season, I'm going with the pizzeria man himself, Justin Piapi. That's who I think is going to take it all this season.
Respect. And honestly, it's really hard to gauge because often the people that you expect least to win end up winning. They end up
Yeah.
sneaking it out. So it's honestly impossible to predict. We have Kyle Frazier. We have Camila. Uh, we've got David Keim, my first pick. We've got Thomas Krodinger, Kevin Luang, Cedric. I should probably say their last names too, McFadden. I'm saying the first names for some of them and the last names for the other ones. And then I believe. Oh no, we have Charity Nelms, and then we have Bianca Roses.
Just some observations that I have. Having gone through all these players, I do have a few observations based on previous seasons and where we're at right now. Um, it's in the new era. We've had a big streak of there being. We start the season with three tribes, and one tribe always does worse than the rest. And because they get their flint taken away for losing, it often leads to the situation where tribes continue to lose. Most famously, spearheaded by the Lulu tribe, also known as the Lose Lose tribe, who lost almost every single challenge in the pre-merge. Um, this season, I think that the Vula tribe is going to struggle the most. Of course, I'm making a superficial judgment based on how they are looking physically, but I do predict that the Vula tribe is going to be taking some L's. That is headed up by Stephanie Berger, Sai, Justin Piapi, Mary Zhang, Cedric McFadden, and Kevin Long. So what's nice is we have three people each on that tribe, and so we'll see how that tribe does. And just to kind of describe the other tribes as well, we have the Logi tribe, which I think is going to physically dominate the most. That has Star Toomey, Bianca Roses, Joe Hunter, Eva Erickson, Thomas Krodinger, and Shaheen Davari. Yeah, I think that they're going to dominate physically. And then on our last tribe, that is the Siva tribe, we have David Kinney, Camila, Kyle, Mitch, Charity, and Chrissy. So interesting mix. I think that it's fairly spread out, but again, my prediction is the Vula tribe will struggle in challenges.
But yeah, I do think off just from what I'm looking at, it looks like probably Logi tribe might be the strongest in
Hmm.
my eyes.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, it seems like they've got like the physicality, and they've got some of the brains, um, you know, but they also might be playing the game the most, so that could lead to its own implosion. So it's really hard to tell. One of the biggest things and challenges sometimes is choosing who's going to do what in the challenge. And even if you've got the right players to do the job, if you don't give them the right positions, one person could completely sell an entire challenge. So it's not only just having the players, but also the placement of the players. So anything can happen, really. And I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. Hey, what we love most about Survivor is that it's impossible to predict. And Survivor's been on a hot streak lately. I think the last few seasons have been really great. Last season, 47, was actually my favorite season of the new era so far. So I'd love to keep this upward trend going as we are on the train to Survivor 50. But if you like Survivor, please stay tuned for any more Survivor content. New episodes every week on Wednesday. So the Survivor hype train is going. And as Jeff Probst would say, We are going full tilt boogie this season. We are leaning in.
Is that what he's saying nowadays?
He said it once on like the 44 or 45th season.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
it was like a famous quote from him. But yeah,
I
full
can
tilt boogie.
I can see why he might not have said it again. Uh, I definitely am excited to do a little bit more Survivor content, get back into it. With that being said, do you have anything to close this out, D?
Thank you for watching this video and catch us on the next episode of Desensitized.
See ya.
Siva. That's one of the tribes.